Hello, everyone. This is part one of a two-part news episode. So, this part is dedicated all to the Amanda West scandal and Summer House news, all revolving around that, since that's such a big thing and there's so much going on right now. It did take a whole episode. But I will be releasing a part two either Friday morning or Saturday morning. And that will have all the other big Bravo news and all the other shows on it. So stay tuned for that. Thank you for your patience and enjoy part one of this news episode. Welcome to the Bravo Papers, a safe space for all us Bravo fans who love to analyze, deconstruct, and talk about our favorite Bravo shows ad nauseum. So join me, Bravo and Botox, and we'll catch up on all the Bravo news and read way too much into our favorite shows and Bravo celebrities. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of the Bravo Papers, Bravo Weekly News, here with your host, Emily, also known as Bravo and Botox, here to bring you the tea, gossip, word on the street, news, all that kind of stuff. And I know I did a two-part, Scamanda, West TD, all the nicknames, episode that was two parts. But I'm going to have to talk about it more, okay? I am going to talk about the other shows on part two. Promised, I'm getting back to the other shows, but there will be a Summer House segment, of course, because I can't ignore, it would have been like ignoring Vanderpump Rules news during Scandival. I can't do that. So since the last time we spoke, a lot has happened, okay? Because the news, especially when there's something like this, moves really quickly and a lot has happened. So let's start with some of the women of Southern Hospitality saying that West also slid into their DMs. Because, I mean, if it's not enough that he's sleeping with Amanda, hooking up with other random girls all around New York City. And then now he's also sliding into the DMs of Mia and Molly from Southern Hospitality. And I mean, this isn't like shocking because we saw pictures of him like on a date with Mia back in September 2025. They were pictured by like, I don't know, it looks like somebody took a picture with their phone. They were in the same restaurant, but Mia and Molly say that they slid it, he slid into their DMs. He's kind of tried to deny it in this like awkward interview that has resurfaced, but it's clear that it's true. I mean, you were on a date with her, with Mia, first of all. And like, why wouldn't he? Look at everything. Like, at this point, okay, this would have been at some point, if he went on a date with Mia in like September, by this point, we can assume he has banged Amanda. Okay. So he's managed to hook up with Sierra, with Amanda, with this other girl that he's like supposedly in a committed relationship, the one that made the horsehair tie. He's got all these other random hookups around New York City. Like, why wouldn't he think he has a chance with Mia? Like I wouldn't think he has a chance with Mia or Molly or Sierra or any of these women, but I'm not going to lie. Like, I can see with his success rate so far why he thinks he has a chance and why he would try. Like, I can blame him for basically everything, except for thinking he has a chance. Because quite frankly, he was just given too many chances. And I mean, this is exactly what he kind of like, I think he was, I don't want to like say it started with him with what he did to Sierra because he was clearly a fuckboy before this. But I think this just took it to a new level. I think him being able to get Sierra and I think that kind of like upped his stock in the eyes of a lot of women. And I think it kind of hit that and him being on TV. And, that's kind of almost like what he used her for in a way. And he's been sort of riding that wave ever since. And I'm glad that I hope it's coming crashing down. I hope that this leads to a dead end or a permanent kind of slowdown in his career. Like that's all we can really hope because he doesn't deserve to keep going like this. I don't know. I don't know if Bravo's going to ask him back. Like I can't, I don't know any of that stuff. Okay, sorry, I'm getting off topic. But anyway, so that came out. And then there were reports from Dumois about like West, talking about his relationship with Amanda. Like he was seen like sitting by the pool, like somewhere, he had left New York City and was like, I don't know, like do somewhere for, I don't know, quote unquote work or whatever it is that he does. And then he was said to be heard saying basically that he's like committed to Amanda and that they're in like kind of a serious relationship or something like that. So then this was recorded on Bravo Breaking News Instagram, and then Dumois commented with a correction saying he wasn't telling people at the pool him and Amanda are serious. Insiders were relaying that after the news broke. So I guess that means that I don't know. Insiders, I guess, or people close were saying that after Dumois broke the news about him, like at the pool, talking about the relationship. So it still sounds like, according to whoever these insiders are, that he said that is what I'm getting from that. Now, again, if he said that, it's really like irrelevant to me because I don't believe anything that he says anyways. So what the hell do I care? And at the end of the day, if he did say that, I mean, he's just saying that to kind of try to save his image. Like he might in his head think the only way out of this is to pretend that I'm like in love. And that's why like I had to do this because I'm in love. Right. Which again, I think even that defense is going to be a stretch for a lot of people or for most people actually, except those like psychos that are like, oh my God, they're cute together. I ship them. Like besides those people. So yeah, so I don't even know if he's gonna take that road when it comes to the like defense at the reunion. I don't know. I guess we'll see, but I don't put anything past him. I'll say that. And we haven't heard a lot from like up until this point, we didn't really hear much from Sierra, from West, or Amanda. Mostly we heard from like Lindsay and others, of course, Lindsay, because she's always the most vocal about any conflict happening. She loves commenting on social media and stuff, which is, again, part of the reason I like her. But yeah, so Wes did kind of come out and posted to his IG story for the first time in quite a while. And he, like, since the scandal broke, he posted basically like kind of like a video of himself and his friend his friend is the one that he does, I think his name's Brody, maybe, that he does those like whiteboard videos with, which this is the thing that also pisses me off about all of this is I really enjoyed those whiteboard videos for the most part. Not necessarily because of West, but I like the other guys that were in them and I always thought they were kind of funny. But now I just like, I'm like, I can't even watch those anymore. Like you ruined everything, you stupid, stupid, stupid man. So anyways, so he posted that and then Lindsay commented and Lindsay said, let's do a whiteboard on West Wilson and explain everything to you. I'll lead the charge at Soho Brody. So that's the guy that he does the videos with, which I thought was pretty funny because I think Lindsay did she did one of those whiteboard things with them about like her and her like dating love life, I think, if I remember correctly. So yeah, that was pretty funny that she commented that. And, I just feel like not everyone on this cast is like out there kind of calling things out and saying things to the point that I wish they were. I guess I'm just so used to like we went through something similar with Scandival, and I'm so used to that cast where everybody's like never shuts the fuck up. You have like Lala, Sheena, and James Kennedy, like the three most messy, toxic people, like nonstop talking about it. So yeah, so this cast is not that they're not messy and toxic in their own ways, but it's just different. It's not in the same like it's just not in the same way that Vanderpump Rules cast was, right? So, anyways, yeah, so I think I'm just kind of like, can you guys say more stuff? Meanwhile, all this is happening. Sierra is on the red carpet for the Euphoria premiere. She's doing red carpet interviews and she's interviewing Sydney Sweeney. And I think, she's sort of like giving us little like, what do you call it? Easter eggs and stuff without actually like explicitly addressing it. So she's interviewing Sydney Sweeney, and the storyline from Euphoria is, or one of the storylines in Euphoria. And I don't watch the show, so don't come after me if I like say it wrong or whatever. I don't know the characters' names. I don't care. Okay. But what I am going to say is that one of the characters, their like best friend hooks up with their ex-boyfriend or something like that, right? So then Sierra, when she's asking the question, she's like, well, if you're gonna hook up with your friend's ex, it better make it worth it. Like, and then she looks directly into the camera and gives like an eye, like gives the eyes, like, better make it worth it, like as a message to Amanda, obviously, and West, of course. And yeah, it's hilarious. And then somebody else on the red carpet asked her how she's doing, and she says she is thriving. So that is good. We love that because we know who's not thriving. Okay, y'all, I've got some exciting spring news for all of us to get us out of the winter slump. Way Day is coming up at Wayfair. From April 25th to the 27th, you can score the best deals on everything you need for inside and outside your home for spring, summer, and beyond. And the best part is that on Way Day, everything on the site ships fast and free. And if you're wary about shopping for decor and big furniture online, you don't have to be, because the Wayfair verified items means that a product specialist has used a 10-point quality inspection process, so you know you're getting a quality piece. So my house has always been more of a modern farmhouse kind of style, but I'm kind of over that and trying a more classic traditional style. And because of all the handy and specific filters on Wayfair, I've been able to find some perfect decor pieces to help redecorate my home. And with the thousands of reviews, many with pictures, it's so helpful so I can visualize pieces in my space. I got this beautiful floral vase and faux tulips, plus some new fluted candle holders, and they just look gorgeous on my console. Wayday is the sale to shop the best deals in home. We're talking up to 80% off with fast and free shipping on everything. Head to wayfair.com April 25th through the 27th to shop Wayday. That's WAYFAIR.com. Wayfair. Every style, every home.
This is Sarah Galley from the podcast Dandy's Girls. Grief doesn't keep a calendar. Anxiety doesn't clock out after 5. Depression doesn't care if it's your busy season. Support can still fit into your life. With Grow, you can find a therapist who meets you where you are. Whether it's your first time in therapy or your 50th, Grow makes it easier to find a therapist who fits you, not the other way around. They connect you with thousands of independent licensed therapists across the U.S., offering both virtual and in-person sessions, nights, and weekends. You can search by what matters, like insurance, specialty, identity, or availability, and get started in as little as 2 days. And if something comes up, you can cancel up to 24 hours in advance at no cost. There are no subscriptions, no long-term commitments. You just pay per session. Grow helps you find therapy on your time. The single most important decision that I have made to better my life was starting therapy. It's helped me both better understand and communicate with family members, friends. Whatever challenges you're facing, Grow Therapy is here to help. Grow accepts over 100 insurance plans, and sessions average about $21 with insurance, and some pay as little as $0 depending on their plan. Visit growtherapy.com/letsgo today to get started. That's growtherapy.com/letsgo. growtherapy.com/letsgo. Availability and coverage vary by state and insurance plan.
And speaking of not thriving, let's talk about Amanda's post. So since the whole like announcement of like we're basically the joint statement to tell everyone that you're in a situationship, we haven't really heard like an official like statement or message from West or from Amanda. Like West, like I just said, like kind of posted some annoying Instagram videos of like, look, I don't care, I'm having fun. But Amanda actually came out and sort of like addressed things. So she posted a picture of her cute dog sleeping, which is obviously intentional. Don't try to butter us up with the cute puppy, okay? Like, are you a politician? Like she's going to be out like kissing babies and like shaking the hands of seniors and, volunteering at the local food bank. Like, don't try that. Okay. It's the oldest trick in the book and we're not falling for it. Okay. You can post like, you know, a bedroom full of cute puppies. It's not going to make up for what you did. Okay. So this is what she writes on top of the puppy picture. And I can't believe, like, I just can't wrap my head around her thinking that this was a good idea to post this, to write this, to pair it with the picture of her dog. Like, if I was her, I would be sitting there and I'd be like, no, I can't post the picture of the dog because then everybody's going to be talking about how I'm using my dog for sympathy. And that's exactly what everyone's doing. See, this is why critical thinking skills are important, guys. Because if you lack them, you end up making dumb mistakes. Okay. Now, that being said, she may have been able to trick like a handful of people, but those are the people who would probably already be like, Amanda didn't do anything wrong. Rah, rah, rah. Sierra and Wes didn't even date for that. Like, those people are already like, in her hands. Okay. So let's get to what she wrote. Hi, guys. I'll keep this short and sweet. Well, you just made it longer by saying you'll keep it short and sweet. But, anyways, I've obviously been MIA, but I wanted to come back on and say that I'm truly sorry to everyone I've disappointed and hurt, especially those I know personally who I've reached out to individually. Okay, I'll go back to that later. Okay, I was about to say something, but anyways, for the sake of my mental health, I'm going to try to start living life with some sense of normalcy. If you see me out or posting online, please know that this still weighs very heavily on me. I'm not ignoring what's happened or what's unfolded. I'll be at the reunion and we'll be addressing any and all questions honestly and directly there. Okay. So I've reached out to those who I know personally, and I've reached out to them individually who I've heard. Okay. So why, if that is so, then why can't you name Sierra? So we have yet another post. Okay. We already had one that didn't mention Sierra. And now we have a second one where she doesn't mention Sierra. Like, this is almost worse than not what Sandoval did, but remember when he did the apology and he didn't mention Ariana's name? And then he had to put out another one where he did mention her name. Like, why haven't you mentioned her name? Like, you couldn't have even learned from that? Like, it's just so, it's crazy to me. To me, it is the most insane thing. And I don't know, she thinks like putting it under this cloak of like, well, I reached out to her individually. I know her personally. Like, that's somehow, I don't know, like makes it better or, makes it sound like it's more sincere. You can reach out to the person individually and apologize and all that. And you can also do a public apology. And I'm sorry, but in this case, I actually think a public apology is as necessary, as important, and as meaningful as a private one. This is one of those rare situations where you owe the person both. You owe them a public apology because, quite frankly, you humiliated them publicly. Okay. You made her worst fear of like, looking like a fool who falls for this like guy again who's already hurt her in the past in front of a large audience. And granted, I'm not saying that like Sierra and West have no role in that or whatever, but I'm just saying like you played into that. And and again, I know like Sierra chose to date him or whatever, but it doesn't matter. Like it's, she was still just like, she was like a victim of a fuckboy, like many, many thousands, millions of women have been. Hers was just televised, right? But it still can be embarrassing. Like, we all have like fallen for a guy who's like an asshole and we're like, oh my God, what was I thinking? But like when you have the whole world watching that and scrutinizing it, especially when there's the layer of race to it, it makes it even more just like difficult to deal with. So Amanda, like knowing that's a thing for Sierra and adding to it, it's like, you owe her the public apology. Like you really, really do. And Wes does too. And neither of them have done it, which I think is insanity. Like insanity. Okay. The other thing is she has to do this for the sake of my mental health. And I'm not saying that she doesn't have mental health issues. She does. Which, by the way, many, many, many people do. It's not an excuse. to hurt people. It's also not an excuse. It doesn't get you, it's not a get out of jail free card. Okay. Having depression and anxiety does not mean that, like, well, no one for the rest of my life is ever allowed to get mad at me because of things that I do that are wrong because I have depression and anxiety. I'm sorry, the world just doesn't work like that. Okay? If you hurt someone, you are an adult person with full agency and you can be held accountable. Okay? And just like Amanda was loving all the benefits of being famous, okay, like a swimsuit line that she didn't really deserve. She's sorry, she's not a fashion designer. She's not anything. She's never went to fashion school. Like there's lots of people out there who would be like desperate to have an opportunity like that, who are actual like designers and sew and create and do all that. You know, she's gotten tons of opportunities just from being married to Kyle on a TV show. Okay. And again, I don't like resent her or anyone else in reality TV that. Use your opportunities. It's great. But if you're going to get that great, amazing, good stuff, then I'm sorry, but the bad stuff comes along with it because your brand is you. And if you destroy your own brand, again, that's on you. And, you know, she just as easily could have not done this, but chose to do it. So there you go. So I'm sick of here. I don't want to hear about the mental health anymore. Then she says, I'm going to try to start living with some sense of normalcy. Again, like the way she's speaking and phrases this is as though she's the victim, right? Like it's like, I need to get back to some normalcy because I am really, this whole situation has been really hard on me. Well, it has, but that's your fault. Like, the phrasing of this to me is manipulative and deliberate. Okay. If you see me posting online, blah, 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 I'll be at the reunion addressing everything honestly and directly. So that was the other thing. There was like this story that came out from TMZ where it said, you know, Amanda and Wes Wilson not sweating the noise, romance going strong. Summer House stars Amanda and Wes Wilson aren't sweating the chatter about their relationship. In fact, TMZ has learned they're leaning all the way in. Sources with direct knowledge tell TMZ, despite speculation West has been seeing other women, that couldn't be further from the truth. We're told that he's fully committed to Amanda and showing up as a supportive partner behind the scenes. Our sources say the noise is largely driven by fan assumptions and social media narratives painting West as a playboy. And again, I'm editing a little bit out of this because it's long, but bottom line, Amanda isn't bothered. We're told she trusts Wes and feels confident in their relationship. The two are still going strong without letting outside opinions interfere. Anyways, and then Lindsay commented on this TMZ story. And again, Lindsay just like doing everything we need Lindsay to do in this situation. And she says, so what I'm learning is that the publicist only knows one media outlet and it's TMZ with a question mark. Because yeah, Amanda and Wes publicists or publicist, I don't know if they have like a joint one for this situation or what. Every story that comes out, it's always in TMZ. Like it never comes out in any other publication. Like it's been like Amanda having like mental health issues, that initial story of her like suffering and stuff. Like, yes, it came from Kyle in that street interview, but then it was on TMZ. And then there was another one about how like they're showing up to the reunion strong. And that was also on TMZ. And now there's this one about their relationship going strong, also on TMZ. So I was so happy when I saw that Lindsay said that. But yeah, to go back to the statement, I mean, clearly they did put that out because then here we have Amanda confirming that they're coming to the reunion. So it's just like, and it's like days apart, like less than days apart. So it's just like, okay, we see what you're doing. So clearly they'll be at the reunion. Whether they'll be answering questions honestly and directly, that I do not believe. Like that's not happening. She's going to answer them indirectly and dishonestly. Like she will cry and try to get sympathy. Here's what's going to happen. She's going to blame Kyle. I was in a relationship for 10 years where I was put down, cheated on, made to feel like I'm a lazy loser. I was dealing with severe depression, and all this made me fuck West. Like that's really what it's going to be without thinking of Sierra, because I was in such a state of psychosis that I couldn't think straight. And, and I just needed to feel good. It was, my confidence was so low. I felt so terrible about myself. That I was vulnerable, and I would go into the arms of any man who gave me that reassurance, etc. And you could be listening to me saying all that and be like, well, that's kind of true. Yeah, maybe it is true, but it's not an excuse. That's the thing that people need to realize. There's a difference between like a reason that people do things and an excuse for things. We all love to, and I am not comparing Amanda and Wes to a serial killer, but this is just the only analogy I can think of right now. We all love to analyze like, oh, this like crazy criminal like grew up, they had crazy abusive parents, and this happened and that, so that like something snapped and then they became whatever. Yes, that could be a reason that could drive someone like to violence or to like immoral things, could be like a bad upbringing or something like that, but it is not an excuse. Okay, so let's be very clear. It does not excuse it. It does not mean that you don't still have to pay consequences. And granted, this is a much, much smaller thing. Okay, again, I am not comparing those two things. It's just an analogy. Maybe I shouldn't get into analogies. We know how those always go on Real Housewives of New Jersey. But I know you guys are all smarter than that, obviously. But it's one of those things. It's like, yes, all that stuff can be true. Amanda could be vulnerable. She could have very low self-esteem. Like all of those can be real things. But again, it's not an excuse to hurt your friend. It's just not. It's just not. Like there's just no excuse to make that decision. Right. And I'm not going to sit here and listen to like Amanda couldn't find a guy to validate her elsewhere. Because, it's not like Amanda is like some troll. She's a beautiful, beautiful woman who I'm sure there are many guys who would want to date her and would give her that, like, you are so hot kind of reassurance. It's just like, ugh, okay. Anyways, I'm going off on tangents here like I always do with this damn show and this damn scandal. So there's that. And then, we have heard that the reunion is going to be filming soon. Okay. So, I believe end of April is around when it's supposed to be filmed. But then there was this rumor floating around this week that they were going to be like filming this, like, I don't know, like separate reunion. And, there was some content creators and, people kind of saying like, oh, well, they're going to be doing like, they're going to be separating the cast, and they'll just be doing like just a sit down with like just West and Amanda, and then just like Sierra and the rest of the cast, or like some bullshit like that. And then people on social media were losing their shit. Okay. Like myself included. Right. I mean, mostly in my head because I didn't really post about it. But, I shared what was being kind of spread around. And I thought when I saw this, I was like, I don't think this is true, because why would Bravo do this? And it turns out that it's not true. So just, to calm your nerves if you're listening and you're like, what the hell? Lindsay did reply to this, and like a video talking about this rumor. And she said, I haven't heard anything about this, but I sure as fuck hope not. It would be a huge disservice if that happens. And she's absolutely right. And then Bravo TV replied and said, here to debunk this rumor. That's not how this reunion is going down. And then Andy today on Radio Andy said that that is absolutely not true, and that they would be doing it like the regular reunion style, which of course, like why would, like my first thought, I was like, the only thing I could think of is if like, I don't know, like if Amanda or West or whatever were like saying like, because of my mental health, I literally cannot do it. That was the only thing I was thinking. But I was like, even that, I don't think, like, just after like Scandival, like Ariana sat on that stage. Like, and even like not, I hate giving Tom Sandoval any credit or Raquel, but I do have to give them credit. That was a tough one. Like to know, it is like walking into a firing squad. and they walked in. Okay. And I think Raquel, it was probably even harder. Like Tom Sandoval was more experienced and seasoned. And I also think he's like somewhat a narcissist. So you know what I mean? So I think for him it was like a little easier than it was for Raquel. But like Raquel like took a beating at that reunion. And again, did she deserve what she got at the reunion? Yes. Did Tom Sandoval deserve what he got? Yes. And in that situation, they were facing a cast that was much more aggressive. Like you were going to have people swearing at you, calling you names, getting up out of their chair. Every time they tried to talk, everybody was yelling at them, telling them to shut the F up. Like it just all that, like, you're not really going to get that with Summer House. Like, you will get comments and you will get shade and you will get little insults and things thrown and stuff like that. But you're not going to get like screaming people out of their seats. Like, I just don't think that's this cast or their personalities. So, except Lindsay. Like Lindsay's the only one. Lindsay's the only one who I can really count on to like go ballistic. So I hope she does. It's either that or she's just going to be so snarky and like, see, I always told all you guys that Amanda was no good. Like she's going to have that too, which she had. Lindsay's earned it. Okay. And let Sierra bask in the residual benefits of that. Okay. It's like, and I do think that Sierra should just let Lindsay be her pit bull. You know, I think that's kind of like it's like a positive plus, right? Especially for Sierra, because I can understand how as a Black woman she will feel like, and this is unfair, but it's an unfortunate, inequity. Is that if she wanted to like yell and get mad and like do the whole like string of insults and whatever that like how Ariana did to Raquel, she would get painted with that stereotype, right? So she's probably going to hold back a bit. Like I wouldn't be surprised if she holds back a bit and she's still like going to express her feelings and emotions and talk about it and answer questions. Like, I'm not saying she's going to sit there silent or anything, but I do think that like, that is a privilege that somebody like Ariana has that Sierra doesn't. And that is like the sad reality. So, you know what? In case Lindsay's listening, she's probably not, but just in case, just do us all a favor. Go nuts. Okay? We all support you 100%. And I would support Sierra if she went nuts too, by the way. So if she feels like it, I'm there to defend her on social media. Okay, so what else do we have about Summer House? Oh yeah, we got to go back to that Amanda post because so as soon as she posted that, everybody was like, are you about to post like some SpawnCon? Like what is going on? Like people are like, she's going to Coachella. She's going to be posting sponsored content. All these like theories came out and then that didn't happen. However, like literally like the next day, at most it was 2 days later. I can't remember if it was a day or 2 days, but at most it was 2 days later. She is basically doing like a New York City like pub crawl, not literally, but like she's like going out to like bars with West and is spotted, pictures, laughing. Another person, we don't have video of this, but another person had pictures of them at a restaurant with two other people. And then somebody else who was there claimed they saw them making out. So it's like, okay, like what? And again, there's no pictures of them making out. So I don't know if that part is true, but I mean, they obviously have made out. But the point of the story is that they were out and looking pretty happy. Like they didn't look, bothered, let's just say. So they were spotted at, where were they spotted? Blind Tiger. Then they were seen at Emmett's on Grove. And then they were seen at Barrow Street Ale House. Again, I don't live in New York, so I don't necessarily know like these places and exactly what types of places they are. I have seen people like kind of making fun of Blind Tiger and saying it's kind of like a college frat boy-ish type of hangout. But again, I'm just repeating something I saw on Threads. I have no idea if that's actually true. But yeah, the point is that they're out together. Somebody else wrote, she was with her co-star West Wilson during a dinner date on Friday evening and they were seen making out. And there have been pictures of them at this restaurant and, they're out and about and Amanda's like got this scarf on her head, like she's trying to like hide her identity. But then somebody has like a cell phone video of her like unwrapping the scarf. Like it's just like it's a lot. And then West was pictured leaving her apartment the next morning. So this was so they had gone out the Friday night, and then he was pictured leaving her house on Saturday morning. Okay. So, obviously implying a sleepover and things like that. So clearly they're still, I guess, hooking up at the very least. Like, again, I'm not sure if I'm believing this whole like committed relationship thing, but I guess we'll see. Okay. Now, since all this has happened, and since last time I recorded this news, I have also heard that they are, because a lot of people were complaining that they weren't picking back up cameras, but I have heard that they actually are picking back up cameras. So at Real Moms of Bravo says we received confirmation that Summer House will be picking up cameras this week. We don't know what or who that entails, but cameras will be back up. We assume this will be treated similarly to the Carl, Lindsay, and Paige Craig breakup. Now, I'm not one to like, just believe that just because like a Bravo account posts it. However, Carl did post a selfie of himself a week or so ago, like in front of a green screen that looks like confessional filming. So that plus this, alleged confirmation you know, kind of like tells me that this could actually be true because, and I would be shocked. Like, again, and I said this last episode, I would be shocked if they didn't pick up cameras. Like, why wouldn't you pick up cameras? And it feels almost like disrespectful to pick up cameras for things like the Paige and Craig thing and stuff like that, when the picking up of cameras didn't really give us any new information, and didn't really like change anything very much. You know what I mean? Or they picked up cameras for like something stupid on Real Housewives of Orange County and stuff. It's like, oh, and for like Kyle Richards' divorce that she still hasn't really told us what the divorce is. Like, so it's like, why wouldn't you pick it up for something like this when this is something that is like actually super shocking to the cast and that people are going to have strong opinions about? And this is something that actually impacts, more than just the two of them. Like it impacts West and Amanda, obviously, they impact themselves, but then it also impacts Sierra. It also impacts Kyle, you know, and Carl's a mess, as Kyle said. But yeah, so it's like it impacts everybody in some way, shape, or form. It either is like their friendship is ended because they don't want to be associated with those two anymore. They might be dealing with it might change how Kyle is thinking about his divorce, like all this stuff. So it has those kind of like repercussions. Um, Now, as far as like where the cast stands on all of this, I mean, I think it's pretty clear where Lindsay stands based on all her comments, but Carl did an interview and he did say, I adore Sierra. I love Amanda. It's been hard, but I think the comedy of it is I'm actually not a mess. And he said, was I emotional on a phone call with Kyle? Absolutely. Have I texted Amanda? Absolutely. Have I talked to Sierra? Absolutely. It's emotional. It's hard. Here's the thing. This is my issue this is why I'm not as excited about this reunion is like when we were going into the Vanderpump Rules reunion, I knew for a fact that every single person besides Tom Schwartz was going to go in guns a-blazing for Tom Sandoval and Raquel, whether they liked Ariana or not, right? Like I knew that James, Lala, Katie, like I knew that there was three solid people that would rip his head off, right? And I knew even Sheena would join in at times, right? And would add fuel to the fire, especially when it came to Raquel, because even though Sheena was doing that, like Tom was my friend, but especially with Raquel. So at least we knew we had like a gang that was ready, right? With this one, I'm like, well, Carl, like Carl's too quote unquote soft when it comes to conflict. And I don't he may be like, I'm disappointed, Amanda. Like that might be like what he's gonna say. And he might like maybe give a little bit of lip to like West, but I don't think he's going to be like guns blazing. I don't think that Kyle is either. Like, I think Kyle's going to be upset and he's going to express himself and all that kind of stuff. But I do think that, like, he still kind of babysits Amanda. You know, like, I think he's so used to being her like babysitter and caretaker for the last 10 years. And I think he's still going to be like, yeah, but I don't want Amanda like to be depressed. And like, I cheated on her a lot. So I can't really get that mad. You know, so I think there's going to be a little bit of that. I think KJ is just too new. Like, I think he'll say things, but, you know, I think he's like, he's newer. He's not going to be as like deeply involved. I think Mia will stand up for her friend. Absolutely. But like, I don't think she's like the type who's going to be like, you know, swearing and like throwing out huge insults or anything like that. And then who else is on this cast that I'm forgetting about? Oh yeah, Bailey. Again, like Bailey's too new. Levi like doesn't exist apparently. I don't know. Like, so it's kind of like, okay, we have Lindsay is like the one person we can really depend on. And then if I'm going to be honest, the other person who I think might bring the smoke is actually Ben of all people, because the level, and I'm sorry if you haven't watched this week's episode, okay, because this is a little bit of a spoiler, but you know, if you haven't, just skip over a few minutes. The level of like disgust from Ben when he was watching like Wes disrespecting Sierra this week, like it was hilarious. And I think him and Sierra have like really formed a good friendship. And I think he was like legitimately like disgusted and annoyed. So I actually, and I think he was already, you know, there was already a tick against Amanda in his head. I think they were friends and he really liked her. But then I think she said that thing to Sabrina. And now he's like, okay, you're kind of in my bad books. And then now this. So I think, you know, I do think that we will get some smoke from Ben, from Lindsay, obviously from Sierra. But, you know, she's going to more like do like the like smoldering, silent, like, you know, kill them with cut eye kind of thing, which I fully support. So yeah, it's just not the same dynamic. Oh, damn, I forgot about Jesse. I don't think Jesse's gonna go like super hard, but I'm not gonna lie, like I've always kind of thought Jesse and Wes like low-key hate each other. Like I do think like they're friends because of the situation that they're in, which is that they were both like hired the same year and they were kind of forced to be friends, but I actually don't think they like each other very much. And I think they're kind of in a competition. So I do think that Jesse is just going to be like, you know, I do think Jesse will at least question, like, why were you so hard on me about like talking about making out with Sierra when you were doing this? Like, I hope Jesse brings that up. But again, I just don't see any of them bringing the heat as much as I am wanting them to bring it. So I guess as of now, I'm going to just pray and hope that we're going to get smoke from Mia, Lindsay, and Ben. That's what I'm kind of placing I'm putting all my hopes and dreams into you guys, okay? It's all coming, it's all going towards you guys. Please don't let me down. All right. Meanwhile, Sierra has picked up a Sephora sponsorship, so good for her. She partnered with Sephora and she said, at Sephora actually rewards loyalty. Love that. And there's a picture of her walking down the street in New York City with a Sephora bag, looking fabulous as usual. Now, the last thing we need to talk about with Bravo News was a big deal on Watch What Happens Live, because we finally had a Summer House cast member on Watch What Happens Live, which was Mia. She had her first appearance. She did an amazing job, and she's just got it. Like, she's got the personality for reality TV. She's funny, she's charismatic, she pops on screen. She's got all those things. She's got that, like, what's it called? X factor, you know? So here's a few highlights from Mia on Watch What Happens Live. And this was after this week's most recent episode, which was an especially egregious episode. So she said in response to, did she suspect anything? Okay. And Mia says pretty much no. Like, she's like, she did not want to believe it. She says that quite a few times. She also says that Sierra had an intuition that something was going on and was kind of like putting the pieces together. She says that Mia says, though, despite that, Mia was like 100% in denial. But she says now, looking back and watching the most recent episodes, she does think that they hooked up last summer. So yeah, and listen, denial is strong. Denial it can be very, very strong. And I can understand Mia being like, no, like this is your friend. And like, it just, a friend wouldn't do that to a friend, because Mia is like a legit friend. Like she's a real friend. So for her, I think I sounded like Whitney Rose there, a real friend, but she's a real friend. And I think that she would be like, well, I would never do that to a friend. So so I can't imagine that Amanda would. But sometimes we have to get knocked out of like, sometimes we sort of like idealize things, or we assume people would do things the way that we would. And I think the older you get in life, the more you realize that, nothing can surprise you. People will do some messed up shit. Okay. And then Amanda, they also asked, has Amanda reached out to her? Has West reached out to her? All that kind of stuff. Mia says Amanda has reached out to her. She hasn't responded. She says West did reach out to her to apologize for lying to her, and she has not replied to that either. Good. Never reply. Just let them sweat forever, block their numbers, all that stuff. Andy asked her about Amanda's statement, putting out like that I just talked about with the dog, and I have to get back to normalcy. And she says it's odd that Amanda's version of getting back to normal is hitting the bars with West. Thank you, Mia. That was my thought as well. She blames Amanda more than West for the situation because Amanda was Sierra's friend. And she also talks about how she met Rihanna and how Rihanna ran over to her and was like, you need to give me the tea. And that, she filled her in on things. So I love that. I just absolutely love that. What was the other thing that she said? Oh yeah, she said that Sierra is doing basically how you'd think someone will be doing when they find out that their friend has hooked up with their ex. So I guess that means very upset. She also says that she thinks Jesse had a feeling but didn't want to believe it. So I guess she's kind of like backing up Jesse's version of like, I didn't know about this. And then Andy says, what is the top thing that you want to ask them? And she says, what did you think was going to happen? You know what? Thank you, Mia. That is actually my number one question. Like, I think a lot of people can kind of understand somebody like getting swept up in like some like crazy sexual chemistry, like especially like when you're going through a divorce or whatever. But I think that what we can't understand is, number one, choosing your friend's ex who she's like heartbroken over to do it with, and number two, doing it when you have a public platform that you have to answer for. Like, I feel like my fear of being canceled would like override any sort of desire to sleep with West Wilson. I mean, like, come on. And just like knowing it's like you had the world as your oyster and you ruined it, which is like for this mediocre, below average man. Like, it's tragic. It's actually tragic. Okay. So, in addition to Mia being on Watch What Happens Live, Andy on Radio Andy said that Sierra was backstage and that he had a long talk with her. I mean, he doesn't say what they talked about or anything. He says that he confirmed that reunion rumor's not true, as I already said. And the other thing he said that's crazy is that the next week's episode may be even worse than this week's. I mean, take that with a grain of salt, because we know how Andy likes to exaggerate things and that's what he does. But this week's episode was pretty crazy. Like, there was at least like, I'm just trying to count in my head. There was at least 11 like insane things in this episode that I was like, what? And like, even just besides like Amanda and Wes being flirtatious, there was like crazy shit. So if you haven't watched this week's episode, you need to watch it. I might actually watch it again, which I rarely do, but I feel like I might have missed things. Like, I don't know. Like, there's so much was happening. And there were so many like just like little subtle things that I didn't even initially pick up on that like now I'm seeing people post about on Threads and Twitter. So now I'm like, oh my God, like what is happening? By the way, follow me on Threads. I'm becoming like a Threads person. Like even my roundups are becoming Threads/Twitter. Now is a great time to go on Threads because so many people are there talking about this topic if you're into this topic and you're into the summer house drama, and there's a lot of really funny posts. So I'm enjoying it. I'm not gonna lie. It's quite different than X/Twitter. Like Twitter is like the Wild West. It is like there's like no rules, nothing is like censored or like, considered like too much or crossing a line. You go on there, you're going to get offended. There's people saying offensive things. There's, gross stuff. Like that's what Twitter, it's like, I saw somebody and they're like, Twitter is like the streets. And then I can't remember what the comparison was for Threads, but Threads is much more like, Threads is kind of like, feels like a home for like millennials who are like a little bit more woke and socially aware. And I don't mean that as like an insult, but it's just a little different. It's like people who were like, fuck Elon Musk and that kind of thing. And I'm going over here. That is kind of what Threads is like. But that being said, I don't want that to be, oh, well, I don't want to go on there. It sounds like it's so like not funny and like cheesy and just like everybody, virtue signaling. It's not. It's still really funny. And there's a lot of hilarious people on there. And like, I'm not going to lie, like sometimes I'm finding more funny posts from there than I am from Twitter these days. So, I think I've got a good algorithm going on both. But yeah, I feel more inspired to post myself on Threads because when I post on Twitter, like no one sees it. It's like I'm just like speaking out into the empty void. I'll get like no likes, no replies. Like I've been on Twitter for like 15 years. I have like 3,000 followers. And then on Threads, I have like almost 20,000. And I've been on there for like, I don't know, not long at all. And I get so many more replies. Like it feels more like social media, whereas X just feels like you're like tweeting to like no one and whatever. So like I mostly when I'm on X/Twitter, I'm just like creeping other people's looking for funny stuff. So it's just different. Anyways, that has nothing to do with anything. I'm sorry. I just wasted 5 minutes on that. Okay. Okay, so I think that's it for Summer House news. I think we're caught up on the whole Amanda West scandal of it all. And if you were listening at the very start of the episode, I am going to release a part 2 with all the other Bravo news. There's like Beverly Hills news, Atlanta news, Miami news, Valley news. So stay tuned for that. Part 2 will be coming to your feed either Friday morning or Saturday morning. I'm going to try to get it out for Friday morning though. So yeah, take a look out for that. And thank you for listening for this part 1. If you're looking for ad-free episodes, head over to Patreon, patreon.com/Bravo and Botox. And you can get all the episodes with no ads for $3 a month. All right, everybody. Until next time, you are now in the know for everything Summer House. Bye.